Alright, this is Andrew with Joda Home Inspections. We are doing a sewer scope today, September 19th, 2025. We're here in Salt Lake at 554 South Douglas Street. We have the camera pushed out 120 feet to the city connection. Now we're going to pull it back and record it and see what we find. So this first connection point is called the nose on. That's where it goes from your lateral line into the main city line. Right off the bat, starting to go underwater at 118 feet. Running water would have been fine, but what we don't like to see is standing water, especially where it's swirling around like that. And that's a sign that it's not flowing. That's just waste swirling around, which means that it's stagnant water. This indicates that you have a belly. When you have standing water, it's not draining, coming out of it. So I mean, that one was 10 feet long, so not the worst belly that I've seen, but that's not a good spot to have a belly when it's right off the city connection, because that means that it's probably under the road. And so that's one of the most expensive spots to dig up. A little bit of buildup on this line. So far not horrible, but bellies can be problematic because waste can get stuck, grease can settle there, can contribute to waste getting stuck, and if enough gets stuck, it can create a blockage where it backs up towards the house. A little bit of standing water here, not even enough to cover the camera head. Never ideal, but a little offset there with some roots. Maybe big enough that I'd recommend having those cleaned out now. Once you have roots, you'll always have roots. Now offset, that's when the pipe is separated or slipped a little bit to where there's a little bit of a lip where waste could potentially get stuck, and if waste gets stuck on that shoulder, that could lead to a blockage. Pretty big roots there. I mean, that's covering half the pipe, and so after seeing that one, certainly I'd recommend having this line hydrojetted and then also evaluate it again. You're going to be able to see a lot more once it's been cleaned than right now with all this buildup and roots. It would also be insightful to see that belly once it's been cleaned, because it's possible that maybe there's something blocking it at the end, causing that water to build up. I didn't feel anything, and so I don't think that's incredibly likely, but hopefully it blasts out a root and it flows fine. I doubt it. Now we're going through some cast iron. Now we're going through some cast iron, which is what is installed under the house. Cast iron will eventually need to be replaced. I've seen some houses where they're still using it from the 1920s, but plenty of houses that have already had to replace it at this point with the age of this house. You can clean cast iron. They can picote it. It's P-I-C-O-T-E, and that's where they use a chain to cut off all that scale and all that rust, and that makes it less likely for waste to get stuck. But it's kind of a catch-22, because you want to have it cleaned so it's not so rough, but you don't want to clean it too aggressively to where it breaks through the pipe. And there's no way to see visually, how thin that pipe is. Since this line has roots, I mean, I'm already recommending that it be hydrojetted, and so some companies will choose to hydrojet cast iron, which is a little bit controversial, because using a chain and cutting it off physically, that's usually better. It makes it smoother. Where when you hydrojet cast iron, it can just continue to flake and make a bigger mess and a bigger issue of the already old cast iron. But some companies will choose to hydrojet. Seems like we've gone back underwater at this point. Oh yeah, and we've been underwater for a minute. It was so dark I thought that something was just blocking my camera head, but as I pull it back you can see movement. There, we're starting to come out of it. I mean, this is a substantial belly. I would clean it first and see if it drains, but I mean, this is probably the worst spot to have a belly, is under the house, because to access that line, a lot of times you have to open up a slab. I haven't traced this one or located it. If it goes out into the asphalt and then goes out to the road, that would be great. If it goes under the house, and to access that line you'd have to dig it up, that's a lot worse. You can get a better view of the cast iron there. I mean, pretty rough. Also, how it's holding water on the bottom. It's possible this has a little bit of channel rot, where the bottom of the pipe gets deteriorated and rusts away. It could just be buildup causing that standing water on the bottom. We're just coming up the stack now, which is how I access this line. Goes through the roof stack. So first thing, I'd recommend having it cleaned. That will clean out the roots that need to be removed. Already you have some that are pretty big, but then it'll also give you a better idea of the bellies, whether you still have standing water after it's been cleaned, and that'll give you an idea of whether you have proper slope and it was just blocked, or whether you don't have proper slope and it might require some adjustment where they need to dig up the line. Some people can have bellies for years and not have issues. Other families or other units have people putting wet wipes and excessive amounts of grease down the line, and they have constant backups. It's hard to predict, but you do have long enough bellies here that I certainly would not be surprised if it caused issues in the future. I'm going to end this recording.